your girl Bree Nicole, and I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what a typical shift consists of as a 12-hour Med-Surg oncology nurse. So I have to be at work at 6:45 at my hospital, and we're supposed to clock out by 7:15. But sometimes that could change if you have to stay over to help the oncoming nurse, or something may occur and you have to stay over to chart. So I made some notes in my phone right here, and I'm just going to read off what a typical day consists of, and then I'll just add some extra stuff at the end of things that like come up during my shift. So first things first, 6:45, I clock in. Our clock in clock thingy is in our break room, and also next to it, they're going to have your assignment for the day. So after you clock in, you get your assignment sheets. We have 5 patients on my floor, so let's just say I have rooms 1 through 5 today. So I get that, and then I go to my nursing pod and get report from the night shift nurse. And I also get the phone from her. So we have like little cell phones at my hospital, and they have like a 4-digit extension, and that's going to be your extension for the whole day. That's how patients get in contact with you, family members get in contact with you, doctors. And it's also going to be next to your name on the report sheet if the unit clerk has to get in contact with you. So that's going to be your phone for the day. So I get report. After that, I go in and do rounds on my patients. Most of them are still sleeping. Some maybe still up waiting for breakfast. So I go in and do rounds, and at my hospital, we do have the whiteboards where you have to write your name, where the nurse little line is. So I usually write my name, and if I know who my tech is for the day, I'll write their name as well if they haven't already been in the room. And then I just initial that I went in the room around like 7:30, because we also have times on our whiteboard. There's like little blocks, and you just initial like between what time you went in the room. So it just has like every hour, like 7, 8, 9, 10. And if I go in at 7:30, I just initial like on the 7 o'clock. But if it's close to 8, I'll go ahead and initial in the 8 o'clock box. So just let my manager know we went in the room to lay eyes on the patient. At least every hour, someone has to be in the room. So after I go in and see if my patients need anything, if they're on fluids, I check to see if their bags are almost empty, because sometimes, you know, the nurse may get busy at the end of their shift and they don't always hang up new bags of fluids. So I always check to see if they need fluids if they're not saline locked, because I don't want the pump beeping an hour later while I'm trying to do meds or anything. So I'll go get fluids. I'll see if anybody needs like anything for pain or just something to drink. And so I get that if they need it. After that, at my hospital, vitals are due at 7 a.m., 11 a.m., and then 3 p.m. during my 12-hour shift. So during this time, the tech may also be in the room going ahead and getting vitals, and also accu checks. If your patient is an ACHS accu check, they have to be done at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I also have to monitor those during my shift. So after that's done, I sit down and the way my report sheet is set up, it has a space for me to put in like vitals and stuff. So I'll write down the 7 a.m. vitals and the accu checks if that person is a diabetic. And if I have to cover them with insulin, I do that as well. So after I do that, at my hospital, I write down my meds. So next to each patient on my report sheet, I write down like the times meds are due. Normally, meds aren't due until like 9 a.m. Some people may have 8 a.m. meds, but normally med passes aren't due until like 9 a.m. It just depends on what all the patient is on. So I write down the times by each patient when they have meds due. And then I just start my morning med pass. You can give meds up until an hour before and an hour after. So if meds are due at 9, I start at 8 a.m. and I have up until 10 a.m. to give the meds. So after that, I just start my morning med pass. Sometimes your patient only has PRN pain meds if they're like a completely healthy patient, so that's a good thing. I know like yesterday, the patients I had, only had 2 patients to give 9 a.m. meds to. So my morning went really smooth yesterday. So after I finish the morning med pass, I'm usually done by 9:30 at the latest. Sometimes if doctors come in and start writing new orders and stuff, it could get me behind, but for the most part, I'm done by 9:30. After that, I usually sit down for like 15 minutes and eat breakfast like really quick. Nothing major. And then at my hospital, nurses have to chart on their patients on every even hour. And the techs have to chart on their patients every odd hour. So that means I have to do a full assessment at 8 a.m. After that, I only have to do focused assessments unless my patient goes down for a procedure, like if they're scheduled for like a surgery during my shift. Now, when they get back, I have to do another full assessment. But if I just have them the whole day, at 8 a.m., I do a full assessment, 10 a.m., a focused assessment, 12 p.m., a focused quick assessment, 2 p.m., a focused quick assessment, 4 p.m., and then again at 6 p.m. So yes, you have to chart on your patient every 2 hours at my hospital on the med-surg floor. And then techs have to chart on the patient like with their ADLs at 7, 9, 11, 1, 3, and 5. So after that, I normally take my stethoscope with me in the room whenever I give their morning meds. So whenever I give morning meds, I try to go ahead and assess my patient while I'm in there doing that then, because I don't want to like give meds and then have to leave back out and then come back in the room, because some people usually like take a nap after breakfast. So I go ahead and assess my patients while I'm giving them morning meds. And then like when I sit down at 9:30 and like eat a little bit, I start charting my 8 a.m. assessments. After that, at usually about 10:30, I just go back in the room to check on the patients to see if they need anything, because guess what? I have to chart on a 10 a.m. A quick little focus assessment. So I just go in to check to see if they need anything, give meds if they have like 10 or 11 o'clock meds due. And then after that, at 11, the techs start the 11 o'clock vitals. So once they're done, I write down my vital signs, make sure they're all in normal range, and then I write down my accu checks and cover with insulin if need be. And then after that, about 12:30, I go in and check on my patients to see like if everybody ate lunch, does anybody need anything. After that, I try to go to lunch. And we get a 30-minute lunch break at my hospital, so I try to go between 12 and 1. Sometimes if I have a lot going on, I don't end up going until like after 1. But I take my 30-minute lunch break, and then after that, when I come back from lunch, I usually like round on everybody too, because I feel like I'm always gone a long time even though I'm not. So when I come back from lunch, I like round on everybody, and then I chart my 12 o'clock assessments. After that, I check to see like what meds are due after lunch. Sometimes people have like 2 and 3 o'clock meds, so I'll pass meds to people who may need them. And then after that, at 3:30ish, the tech will start the dinner time vitals. So then I will write down the vitals, and then since dinner comes a little later, they don't do accu checks when they do the like between 3 and 4 vitals. They have to wait until like 5 to do the accu checks, because dinner trays don't come until like 5:30. So at 5, they do accu checks, and then I check to see if anybody needs insulin, cover if need be, pass meds, go in and just check on everybody and round. And then after that, I just sit down, and between all this time, I have to sit down and chart like a 2 p.m. focus assessment, a 4 p.m. focus assessment, and a 6 p.m. focus assessment. Usually after I chart my 6 p.m. focus assessment, I'll round like one last time to make sure they don't need anything before like shift change. I always check my fluids if the patient isn't saline locked. I try to hang a new bag for the oncoming nurse, because, you know, it's just a kind gesture for them to come in to like a full fluid bag and not have to worry about hanging fluids. So I try to do that as well when I do my 6 o'clock rounds. And then I just check to see if everybody's okay and if anybody needs anything. And then after that, I just wait for the oncoming nurse to get there about 6:45. And then I give report, hand off the phone, and also change the battery before I give her the phone. The batteries are also located in our break room. We have like a little charging station. So I change out the batteries. And then after that, that's the end of my shift. Now, that's how a typical easy shift goes with no like interruptions. Now I'm going to talk about extra stuff that goes on a med-surg floor. Okay, I put call lights because in between this time, you're going to get calls to your phone from patients wanting like pain medicine, nausea medicine, wanting to go to the bathroom, just have questions. So this can go on while you're passing meds, while you're at lunch, even though you're not supposed to end your lunch early. It happens almost every shift where I have to get up to do something. But yes, call lights, you have to go in and see what's going on. Your patient may be on fall precautions. If you get someone with like altered mental status, the fall light might go off and they're trying to get up or do something. So you always have to be aware, have your phone on you at all times. Some people sit their phones down, which is not good. Always keep your phone in your pocket because you never know like what may happen. Next, I put nursing students. I work during the day, so there are always nursing students on my floor. There's 2 different colleges that have nursing students on our med-surg floor. So guess what? I utilize them. I love nursing students because depending on what semester they're in, they can either pass all your meds, and they're usually there from 7 to 3. So they'll say we'll pass meds up until 2 o'clock because after that they have to go and like debrief. So they'll pass all your meds from like the time they get there up until 2 p.m. They'll do all your dressing changes, draw labs. Like sometimes they're like, give us anything to do. We'll do anything. So yesterday I had some great nursing students. Out of my 5 patients, 3 had wet to dry dressing changes, and they did all 3 for me. 2 patients, I had to get labs on. They drew the labs for me. 1 patient, his IV went bad. They started a new IV. They wanted to do everything. So I was like, okay. And then sometimes, like, if it's a stat lab, like one day a person had a stat lab, and I like went in the room and got it because I knew that doctor was gonna like message me and be like, hey, have you got this? And I felt so bad because as soon as I was walking out of the room, a nursing student that I think was assigned to that patient, she saw me. And I was like, I'm sorry, it was a stat lab. So I just ran in and got it before the doctor called me because I think it was like a troponin or something. But yes, nursing students will be your best friend. Do not be that nurse that's like, oh my gosh, nursing students. They are there to learn. So just let them learn and let them do stuff. Like, I love them. And they're always helpful because they're always assigned like at least 3 of my patients. So that means I only have 2 patients that I have to pass meds to that morning. So it makes my day go a whole lot easier. After that, I put scheduled surgeries or procedures. So I work on a med-surg floor, and sometimes I get to work and a patient is NPO because they are scheduled for surgery that day. Yesterday, I had 2 patients that were NPO when I got to work. One was scheduled for, I think, a BKA, below the knee amputation, and another one was just scheduled for an abscess drainage or something like that. So sometimes you get to work and patients are NPO for procedures. So those patients you do not give morning meds to unless it's like something critical that the doctors say, hey, give this with a sip of water, like blood pressure medicine or something like that. The doctor may say, hey, just give it with a sip of water. But most of the time they're just on like vitamins and stuff. So I just don't worry about that until they come back from their procedure. So that may be a thing. So always be aware. Let's see. And then another thing, when patients are scheduled for procedures, make sure their consents are signed on the chart. Even though the nurse you may get report from may say like it's signed on the chart, my preceptor always told me to go check the chart myself to make sure the consents are signed on the chart. Because guess what? There was a time where they came and got my patient for surgery at like 7:45 a.m. So I didn't even, between like those little 45 minutes, I didn't even go check on their chart. And guess what? When they got down there, the nurse called me and said, this patient doesn't have a consent. Can you print one off and walk it down here and watch the patient sign it, since it's technically your patient? But she ended up just calling back and was like, never mind, we'll do it, and I'll just watch the patient sign, because she was like in pre-op. But I was going to have to like stop what I was doing and go down and do that. And that was going to take about 20 minutes for me to go down to pre-op just to do that. So always make sure your consents and stuff are signed for procedures, any type of procedures, not just surgery. Because other procedures, they have to have consents too, like MRIs, CTs, different stuff like that. Also put like full assessments when patients come back. So like those 2 patients that had procedures yesterday, I had to do a full assessment at 8 a.m. That one patient left at 11:30 a.m. and got back around lunchtime. So when she came back at 2 p.m., I did another full assessment on her. And my second patient, I think he left around 1. And then when he got back at like 4, I had to do another full assessment at 4 when he got back, because they went down for surgery. So things could be different when they come back from when they were stable that morning. Also, new orders pop up all the time. So our computer system shows like when new orders come up, whether it's a med, a communication order, like a wound dressing change order, and a diet change order. Things may change. Doctors go in the room all the time while you're busy doing stuff, so you don't always see the doctor. If I do happen to see the doctor, I will go in the room to listen to what they have to say. But most of the time, you will miss the doctor. And most of them don't stick around to wait on you, because they have to round on the whole unit. So they'll have like 10 other patients that they have to go see. So always check for new orders, because diets may change. Like if a patient's NPO, their diet may change to clear liquid. If they've been on clear liquids, their diet may change to a regular diet. So it just depends. Always be aware of that. Always be aware of new meds. Sometimes when electrolytes aren't balanced, like yesterday, a person that we drew labs on, his potassium was low and his mag. So the doctor put in a new order for potassium and mag for me to give at like 4 p.m. before I got off work. So just always pay attention to stuff like that the doctor may put in. Also like skills and stuff. We get patient with NG tubes all the time. Sometimes the doctor may put in clamp the NG tube, turn the suction off, or even remove the NG tube, or the foley. They'll put in orders to remove the foley and have the patient to start voiding and drinking fluids. So just always pay attention to new orders and like dressing changes as well. And since this is a med-surg floor, you will have dressing changes. So also during your shift, you will have to fit in like when you are going to do your dressing changes on your patients. Not all patients have dressing changes, but like I said yesterday, I had 3 patients, 3 or 5 that had dressing changes. So you will have to fit in when you're going to do the dressing changes, like sometime during your shift. Like if your patient has a foley, you know, you can also help with monitoring output on your patient and like empty the foley bag. Your patient may come with drains, so you will have to empty drains and measure the output as well. And also, doctors love for patients to ambulate after surgery. So you may have to walk your patients around the hall, walk with them around the room. So that may take a little time, maybe like 15 to 30 minutes. If your tech is too busy, you can also like walk and ambulate the halls with your patient. If physical therapy is not available to ambulate with them. So that's something else you may have to do as a med-surg nurse. And like the oncology part, we have chemo certified nurses. So if we get sick cancer patients, the chemo nurse does everything with that. You give the regular meds, but all the chemo meds will be on the MAR, and they will say like chemo meds. So you just give like their regular normal morning meds, and then the chemo nurse will come in and start their chemo. Do all you don't have to do anything with that. They monitor that. You don't have to do anything with it. And another thing, you may get patients that come back from surgery with like PCA pumps or epidurals in their back. Anesthesiologists come up and monitor that. They change the bags and everything. You just have to chart, I think, how many times they like press the button, how much they got during your shift, and stuff like that. I forgot what exactly it is, but it's on our charting system, and then you have to clear it out for the oncoming nurse. Want to add like discharges. You'll get patients that are discharging like on day shift too. So if I know a patient is going to discharge on me, I will go ahead and do like their assessments and med passes and stuff first, because I know they'll be going home by lunchtime. So then I know like you usually get like an hour window before a new patient comes. Our turnover rate is really high. So if bed board knows a patient is about to be discharged, someone else down in surgery will be assigned that room before that patient even leaves. And we have a way of looking that up as well. So you'll know what's coming to that room, like what type of surgery they had, everything. You'll be able to view their chart before the nurse and PACU even calls you for report. Same with ER patients. Sometimes when ER patients get admitted, they're admitted to our floor just for like medical reasons. So you'll get to see those patients coming from the ER and why they came into the ER if they're assigned one of your beds. So that's another thing. You're able to like look at that before they even call report. Sometimes I've filled out my like little report sheet just by looking on their chart. So when the nurse calls me with report, I'm just like, yep, I already got that. Thank you. So that's a good thing about our computer system. So just be aware of that. Sometimes you can have a lot of patients discharges, and that means you'll have a lot of admissions. I've had 3 people to discharge on me and got 3 new patients like right behind them. So sometimes things like that can put you behind on meds. It can put you behind on going to lunch. I know one day where that happened, I didn't go to lunch till like 2 p.m. So it just depends. And then of course, like when you get a new admission, you have to do a full assessment and all that. We have to do an admission form on the patient and do like the flu and COVID vaccine screening. So, and then another thing, you have to do your care plans for your patient. It's just like a click chart type of thing. You have to do that for all your patients. So even if your patient is discharging, you have to do it. And then when you get a new patient, you have to do it. Or if your patient is just there with you all day, you always have to do a care plan on your patients as well. And then another thing I just thought of is restraints. Sometimes we have to put people in like soft restraints. And if you have a patient in restraints, you have to do like a restraint charting every 2 hours. And it just basically asks like, did you offer the patient to go to the bathroom? Did you offer them something to eat or drink? Did you like turn the patient and offer them, a chance to get up and move around? So that's something else you have to chart on. Like if you do have to put a patient in restraints for like confusion and stuff. Also offers sitters. So yesterday I did have a patient that had to have a sitter, and they just sit in the room and like try to keep the patient less confused as possible, because we have patients that try to get out of the bed, they try to pull out their IVs, just mess up stuff. So they're just in the room for that patient's safety. And if the patient starts doing anything like too crazy, they just call us or try to like de-escalate the situation. So I think that is about it. That's pretty much everything that goes on my floor. Now it's different if I get floated to another unit because all floors are different, but that's what a typical shift consists of on my floor. Comment down below what other videos y'all would like to see. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye, guys.